Gail Zuckerman, and this is Growing Older with Gusto. Each episode, I interview people who are growing older in an inspiring way. Whether you're 30, 60, or 80 years of age, these interviews will help to conquer your fear of aging. Please subscribe to our channel and check out our website at www.growingolderwithgusto.com. Hello, I am Gail Zuckerman, the host of Growing Older with Gusto. So welcome, fellow super agers. We've created a podcast to help bring out the different aspects of growing older in a positive and productive way, whether you're 30 or 60 years old. And today, I am excited to tell you that we have another inspirational guest on the show, David Lereah, who has recently come out with a book called The Power of Positive Aging. As I'm a baby boomer myself, I read the book, found it just chock full of ideas and plans for the future that I'd never thought of before and presented in a very interesting way. So David is also someone who's overcome lots of life's obstacles, and he's come out the other side in a very winning way. So sit back, take a listen, and learn how to embrace your life today and move forward with lots of self-assurance about growing older with gusto. So, hi, David. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks, Gail. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. David and I are think alike when it comes to growing older. We both hope to help people adapt to growing older in a positive way and hopefully dispel any negative associations with the whole concept of aging. And David has a new book out that I have read that's just a consummate guide for anybody of any age, and it's titled The Power of Positive Aging, Successfully Coping with the Inconvenience of Aging, which is how appropriate for our challenging times. So, David, I want to start out by just asking, how did you get interested in the topic of positive aging? I noted that your doctorate is in economics, which is kind of far afield.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, it took a diagnosis of cancer to get involved with aging issues. I was diagnosed with stage 3 esophageal cancer, and I had to go through the whole process. And really what happened was when my surgeon gave me a PET scan, brought me to his office and said, "You have stage 3 esophageal cancer. I can't guarantee anything," is what he said to me. We're going to go through chemotherapy, we're going to go through radiation, and then we're going to have a 7-hour surgery, cutting half of your esophagus out, half of your stomach out, connecting them back together, and pray. That's all we can do. So it was nerve-wracking to say the least. But when I left his office, the nurse took me aside and said, "David, listen, if you get through this cancer, it's only an inconvenience in your life." And that's what changed my life altogether, was that disease, the marks of aging, whether it's having to use a walker or a hearing aid, they're all inconveniences as long as you still have some quality of life. And as I say in the book, as long as you can hear the waves hit the ocean waves hit the beach shoreline, or if you can just see roses in your garden, then all these marks of aging are an inconvenience. So what I did was I took my cancer journey and I took it and I transitioned it into an aging journey, because as we all age, we're going to experience, whether it's cancer or heart problems or just hearing aid problems, whatever those marks of aging are, they're inconveniences. And that's how I started to explore aging issues. And one last thing, my surgeon said to me after it was all over with, and I made it, but I had all these complications. I was on a feeding tube for a year.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting depressed, a lot of high anxiety. And he said to me, maybe you need a psychiatrist, psychiatric therapy. And I said to him, no, I'm going to do something different. And that's when I went on my journey of discovery, reading all the literature on aging, applying my doctorate in economics to gerontology.
Wow.
And that's where we are now with the book.
That's a great story, and I'm so glad that you're able to be on the show today and share that with us. In your book, you mention so many interesting concepts, but the first one that struck me was the 3 aging rooms, the positive, the practical, and God's waiting room. Could you tell us a little bit about what each of those rooms means to you?
Yeah, I mean, basically, all of us, as we age and we have to cope with physical and mental decline, because that's inevitable. It will happen to all of us, whether it's a hearing aid or your vision will deteriorate, or whether it's something serious like cancer. We all approach it in a different way. Some of us are in a practical aging room. Some of us are in a positive aging room. Some of us are in God's waiting room. And what that means is that if you have positivity, if you really approach things with a positive attitude, which is so hard to do 24/7, then you're in that positive aging room, and that's what we're all hoping to get to. The practical aging room is where my parents were when they were aging. My mother is still alive at 92. They have bouts of anxiety and sometimes depression, but they're trying to age as gracefully as they can. Most of us are in that practical aging room. Unfortunately, with my nonprofit, United We Age, I've met a lot of older people that are in this God's waiting room where they've given up. They've given up on life. They don't have any positivity. They are bitter about the marks of aging. And we need to get them out of that room and into a practical aging room. And once they're there, we can work on getting into a more positive aging room. And that's basically the 3 rooms that I classify for all of us aging.
When you meet your people through your not-for-profit, which we'll get to later, is there any practical tools that you can take somebody who's in God's waiting room and put them hopefully into the practical room?
Well, there are tools, and that's what my whole book is about. Is
Right.
I've stumbled upon what I believe are the building blocks for practicing positive aging. So, you can start with trying to tap into your spirit.
You're one step ahead of me. I was just
Okay.
going to ask you about, you write about aging is about your spiritual spirit taking center stage, is a direct quote from you. Could you speak to us about what you mean by that?
Yeah. First of all, 80% of all the people in America, according to surveys, believe in a spirit, believe they have some type of a spirit or a soul, some afterlife. I don't want to get into religion, whether you're Christian or Hindu or whatever your religion is. 80% of us believe there's a spirit. Well, if you believe there's a spirit, then as your physical and mental capabilities are deteriorating, your spirit, which is really not part of your physical body, should be something that you emphasize. And the other way to look at it is your spirit will be able to battle your ego. It's your ego that's giving you a problem with aging. It's your ego that's saying, whoa, I just got some more wrinkles on my face. I'm embarrassed. I want to be young again. It's your spirit that battles that ego and says, no, I'm aging, but I'm beautiful and I have a positive attitude. So if you can tap into your spirit and sort of push your ego aside, you're one step closer to positive aging.
I know through reading your book that you've been through financial setbacks from the recession in 2008, and you just spoke to your health crisis. How did your philosophies help you through both of those seemingly insurmountable obstacles?
It's very difficult. And, you know, when I went through the financial crisis, I was the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. So I was on TV all the time, and living a great life. And then I wrote a book, Are You Missing the Real Estate Boom? And that was awful timing because it came out when the real estate boom turned into a bust. So the bloggers on the internet just literally destroyed me, thinking that I was trying to convince people to buy houses in a bad time. So I went through hell, and in the beginning, I didn't know how to handle it, but then I learned how to live in the present moment through mindfulness, through meditation, through tapping into my spirit, and that helped me a great deal. It put me on a positive trajectory in my life, so I was able to overcome that. And then when I was diagnosed with cancer years later, I had the same problem. I didn't know how to handle it, but eventually I went back to mindfulness, meditation, living in that present moment, not worrying about the future and not thinking about the past. And that's when I think I just lost the video.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There you go. And that's when I was able to overcome the anxiousness and the depression of cancer. And that's how I'm going to thrive as I age into real senior life, hopefully into my 80s and 90s,
I hope
because
so.
I will live in the present moment. And that's what we all need to do. You can't worry. You can't think about your past and want to be young again. And you can't worry about the future, about what's going to happen to you. You need to live in that present moment. And that's one of the parts of positive aging that we need to hang on to and learn.
Are there any suggestions you'd make for people who are having trouble learning how to meditate, or are there any first steps that people could take, or any particular apps you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I assume that a lot of people can't meditate and they don't know how. They've never done it before. Real meditation, you do it for 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes.
Wow.
That's real mindfulness meditation. I'm not asking people to do that, especially when you're in your 60s and 70s and 80s. 2 to 5 minutes of meditating in the morning and at night before you go to sleep. That's what you could do. There are so many apps. I use an app called Headspace, and it's so simple. You just click on a meditation to go to sleep or to wake up, and they take you through it. And they'll do it for 5 minutes. And
I use Calm, which I really like.
Yeah, Calm is a good app as well.
So, now you mentioned something called the life portfolio that really captured my attention, and the need that we have to rebalance it and adapt it to our lives as we grow older. Could you describe what a life portfolio is?
Yeah, balancing is so crucial for all of us because most of us are out of balance in our lives. And that's why we have some stress. That's why every now and then we can have a little bout of depression. That's why we get some anxiety. So that you need to continually rebalance your life, especially when you're growing older, because our life has changed dramatically. A lot of us in our 60s and 70s and 80s, we're retired. We're not bringing up a family. We don't have those responsibilities. So you need to take a good look. I call it a life balance audit of what you're doing in your life, and you need to balance it. And when you look at the balancing, the categories are, I'm trying to remember now. You've got your lifestyle, your social interaction, your priorities in life, your expectations of what you want to do in your life. To give you a simple example, For someone that plays tennis, your knees may give out. You're not going to be able to play tennis. So you need to revise your expectations. You need to revise them into possibilities so that instead of tennis, maybe you play golf. Or if you don't like golf, maybe you can go on long walks. We need to continually rebalance our lives as we're aging. And that will reduce stress, emotional stress in your life.
Okay. How do you feel that emotional intelligence affects us as we grow older?
Emotional intelligence, I found there was a connection, an intersection with emotional intelligence and coping with aging, positive aging, practicing positive aging. Because when you look at emotional intelligence, which is something relatively new for all of us, they now have emotional intelligence quizzes to take, and you can see what your EQ is versus your IQ. But emotional intelligence, it tells you how well you do under stress, how well you perceive yourself and other people, how well you can express yourself, how your interpersonal skills help you live a good life. Those skills, that emotional intelligence, all apply to practicing positive aging, whether it's trying to reduce stress in your life, rebalance your life, practice what I call the 4 A's, your attitude, your appreciation for life, the ability to adapt in your life. All of that takes an emotional intelligence. So you need to focus. I have a very small chapter on emotional intelligence. I look at the different areas of emotional intelligence, your self-perception, your stress management, your your interpersonal skills, and match it up with how you can practice positive aging. There seems to be a pretty good link, so it's worthwhile to read that section.
Lifestyle planning, that's another term that is interesting. You write that you can apply the term whether you're 20 or 40 or 60 or 80. What is lifestyle planning exactly?
Yeah, I look at really lifestyle modifications that we can make in our life. I have a whole chapter dedicated to trying to, once you've learned how to practice positive aging, now let's apply it. So let's make some modifications in our life, in our lifestyle. The simplest way is I have a lifestyle modification plan. 10 different things you can change in your lifestyle so you can be more positive about aging, become more spiritual, stay more social, learn how to meditate, maybe for 5 minutes per day using one of the apps that we talked about. Eat healthier, know the vitamins that will help you with your immune system as you age. Simplify your life, reduce stress. These are all modifications we can make to our lifestyle. But then I go into something much deeper in a lifestyle plan. I say, okay, let's say you just got diagnosed with cancer. What do? Well, that takes different lifestyle modifications, practicing positive aging. Or what if you have some hearing loss and you need to wear a hearing aid, or your knees go out and you need to use a walker? Emotionally, that's difficult for people to overcome, that shame and embarrassment of having to use a walker for the first time. They postpone it. Or wearing a hearing aid, they postpone it. So we have lifestyle plans for those circumstances.
Very good. Tell us about your non-for-profit organization, United We Age. I love the name of that. Tell us about it.
Well, United We Age began when I was a volunteer for Meals on Wheels. where I would deliver hot meals to a number of senior citizens that were really challenged, financially challenged, emotionally challenged. Half of the people I delivered meals to were living by themselves, and some of them were in God's waiting room. They lost their zest for life, and some of them were, pretty positive about aging, but they were by themselves. They were lonely. So I would deliver a meal, and then I would spend time with them to keep them company. And one lady just looked at me. She was a 89-year-old in a wheelchair, and she would be watching The Price is Right on TV every time I would walk into her little tiny house bungalow. And she would look at me after a half hour of being there talking to her and say, you make me feel like I'm really living by talking with me, because I need someone to talk to. So we created United We Age, and what we do there, our primary function is to deliver birthday presents on people's birthday, celebrate different holidays for them. And these are senior citizens that are living in long-term care facilities. And it turns out that 50% of all seniors that are living in long-term care facilities have no family or friends visit them. They're by themselves. They only have the staff workers there to socialize with. So for us to come in and give them that birthday present, give them some balloons on their birthday, just sit down with them and talk to them, does wonders. And that was the basic thrust of this United We Age. We call it the Friends for Seniors program. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, we're not allowed in right now. So we're doing all we can. We're buying birthday presents, and we're waiting for the day where we're allowed in, because right now we're in Florida, and the pandemic is peaking right now. So once we're allowed back in, I'll be handing out presents like it's Christmas in August.
That's great. Well, this has been wonderful. You do so many great things aside from writing a book that is just so informative and helpful to everybody of all ages. Your not-for-profit is fabulous. So thank you so much for being on the show today. Is there any way that you would like to suggest that if people would like to access your book easily, what should they do?
Oh, well, thank you. And it was great being on. Just go to Amazon.com or any online site, and you can access the book. We also have, if you go to the United We Age site, it's unitedweage.org.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
Quiz on the site now. Are you prepared to grow old?
Oh, that's great.
I would suggest people taking that quiz to see if they are emotionally prepared for the marks of aging that they will confront in the future.
Thank you so much. David, this has been wonderful. I appreciate all your time and all your information. It was really great and enlightening. Thank you so much. And best of luck as you go forward. I know you've had lots of challenges, and we're so glad you could be with us today.
Well, thank you very much. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
All right,
stay
bye-bye.
safe. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and check out our website at www.growingolderwithgusto.com.